Dan Snow, welcome to SportsvibeTV, and we find ourselves, rather aptly, in a Chaucerian pub, just for you because you're a historian. Is this the pub where it all began for Chaucer?
This is one of the several pubs where it's claimed that Chaucer, or the pilgrims in Chaucer stories left from. It could be, who knows? Might as well claim it.
It feels like it could have been.
It does feel like it could have been, and you're combining two of my great loves here, which is three of my great loves, one of which talking about myself, two pubs and three history, so I couldn't be happier.
Dan Snow, where do we start with you? We are primarily a sports site, and people know you as a TV historian, but I've heard you're a useful sportsman in your time. You certainly could row.
I was good at sports which didn't involve a great amount of sort of sporting ability, as it were. I mean, I'm slow, I've got no hands, I've got no awareness, I'm mal-coordinated. But luckily in Britain, sports exist to, for those kind of people. And I was a decent second row because I was quite fit. So I used to run around a lot and hit rucks hard. In rugby.
You're tall as well.
Tall, so I was heavy. Well, no, I'm bad at jumping though, so you've got to remember, and I've got no hands, so I was quite rubbish in line out really. But
they lifting.
Luckily, in my last year, see, I had this race. My last year, they changed the rules on lifting, so suddenly I was going 10 metres in the air, taking these balls. Everyone's like, "Dan, it's master line." I'm like, I'm doing absolutely nothing. You do know that, don't you? I'm being held by my ankles by two beefy props.
You are being tall, to be fair.
No, I was being tall. Yes, and I was holding my back erect long enough to sort of stay upright. But
there we go.
But and then rowing as well. Again, a sport that's famous for not really needing a huge amount of sort of dexterity for. I look back really, and I sort of do wonder whether I made the right choices as a teenager. I just did things that were really.
We all do that, my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
You did really 3 boat races, though, didn't you?
I rode in 3 boat races, yeah, and lost 2 of them. You remember the ones you lose, obviously. I think it's like I love seeing interviews with sportsmen on telly, and the FA Cup. Gary Lineker says to them all, "What's it like winning?" And they all can look and go, yeah, "It's all right," but then they start talking about the ones they lose, and that's. Losing is a huge discontinuity in your life. When you win, you're expecting to win, you're telling yourself you're going to win, you go, "Oh, that's good," you go to the pub, and the next day you wake up and you're walking around, you have a bit of euphoria for a few days, but nothing really changes. When you lose, it is an absolutely profound, on my life, a huge, and it changed the person I am. I mean, it made me, it brought me crashing back down to earth. It gave me far more self-awareness. I mean, it was the making of me in many ways. It was a very depressing experience.
And was that your responsibility?
Yes.
As a captain, as Lewis Moody's been saying for the last few weeks, I hold my hand up.
Yeah, no, I did. I absolutely hold my hand up. Yeah, no, I think it was my fault. In particular, it was my fault because on the day some things happened that I should have been more. I should have taken control. I mean, I think the big thing about sport. And the boat race is weird because it's only students, but there is that kind of there's helicopters in the sky, there's 1,000 people on the bank. Yeah. You get overwhelmed by the occasion, and I think you see that in Rugby World Cup finals, obviously football World Cups, because everyone seems to play so badly in them. But the occasion is suffocating, and I think great coaches are able to get guys to perform like they would if they were out by themselves on a training row or kick a ball around. And I think I was overwhelmed by the occasion, and as a result I let things happen that I wouldn't otherwise have let happen, because I was worried about, if I kick up a fuss about this, it will ruin the TV schedule.
That sounds fascinating. What do you mean you let things happen?
Well, it was a very unusual race. We actually clashed. We had an amazing start. We were winning. We completely took them by surprise. And the start's really important, obviously, like the middle and the finish. Really important.
Probably all of it.
Yes, most of it. No, but the start is a huge amount of boat racing because it's a kind of massively psychological. If you get ahead and they can't see you anymore, it's so depressing. You start to row badly. You start to kind of pull at it. And we had this absolute dream start. We were flying, and they crashed into us. And there was a clash. I'm not sure whose fault it was, but one of their guys dropped his oar, and on the TV footage, it wasn't because we clashed. He actually just dropped it, and they stopped the race and restarted it. And they restarted it not reflecting our advantage. They kind of restarted it back at level, and by that stage, various other things happened. And I should have just put my hand up and said, "No, we're not starting this race till we're both happy that the crews were where we were when the guy dropped his oar." All this kind of stuff, getting technical. But instead I was like, "No, don't worry about it, we get to the big day boat race, look at that helicopter, Claire Balding's on the bank, let's just keep going." And actually, that in the end we end up losing.
Claire Balding's on the bank, let's keep going.
Well, she's there with the BBC team.
I misunderstood you there for a moment.
Yeah, Claire Balding's at the finish.
Now, life's going pretty well, as I said, but given a choice, we could rewind maybe 10 years ago. Would you like to be the TV historian and author that you are now? Would you like to be the successful sportsman? or would you actually like to be the well-known sport broadcaster and journalist?
Yeah, I think I thought a lot about being a sportsman. Luckily, I didn't have the ability, so it's an academic question. But I do think there's a real problem with your life is so amazing that everything else subsequently is a bit rubbish. And I think when I watch those guys, when I watch Stevie Gerrard run out, or John Terry in Champions League finals, semi-finals, music, fireworks going off, millions of people around the world worshipping them, I think you're really going to have trouble settling back in civilian life. And actually, I have great. You see England, guys who've achieved, won the Ashes, won the World Cup with England, and you look at them and they look, they're trying to find a role. Some of them do find a role. I think that's great. You're going to broadcasting and become explorers, whatever it might be, and that must be really. But you need to kind of close the door on that time in your life and move on. I mean, I don't go back to rowing reunions very much or dwell in that. Don't dwell, because you've got to kind of be looking forward. I think it's when clearly your best days are behind you. Like, you can go up to Frank Lampard and go, oh wow, you might be a property developer, that'd be great. But actually, there's no point pretending that his best days were not in the Champions League final in Moscow or whatever. So I do think I'd be very wary about that life. And because it comes to an end, and then you've got a lot of life to live afterwards. I think it would be amazing to be a sports broadcaster. When I talk to friends at the BBC, I mentioned Claire Balding or whatever, they have an amazing life. I mean, they just go from Six Nations to golf to it's just...
Hey, it's tough work. It's hard work.
Yeah, it's really
We're
hard.
a dedicated bunch.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly. I'm sure it is.
You say you go to a few reunions, but not many. But you are heavily involved in Road to Recovery. Now, perhaps you'd like to explain exactly what that is.
Well, there's one rowing project at the moment I'm very involved in, and that is Road to Recovery, which is a bunch of guys who have lost limbs in the service of their country in the last 10 years when we've been fighting these several wars, and they are deciding they're going to raise, and I absolutely believe they will. They've said they're going to raise £1 million for Help for Heroes, and they're going to do so primarily by rowing across the Atlantic, which is insane. I've sailed across the Atlantic and I've done a lot of rowing, and I would never do the two together. I mean, I would never do it. It's hardcore. And would I do it without a leg or an arm or both? No.
That doesn't make it easier.
That doesn't make it easier. No. They are absolute heroes, and the fact that they're doing this to raise money for people that they consider to be in a worse state than them, they're saying, well, they regard themselves as entirely able-bodied, and they think it's their duty to raise a bit of money for those who aren't. I mean, it's completely inspiring, and they've turned it into a kind of a professional operation. They've got the team together, doing a lot of training, and sorry, to make it even more bizarrely, they don't just want to float across and have a jolly, they're actually going for a good time. I mean, these guys are insane.
Well, listen, great to meet you today, Dan. You're obviously a frustrated sportsman, frustrated sports broadcaster. I'm sorry it hasn't really worked out for you.
I know.
But keep pushing, okay? Because one day you'll make it.